This is the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari Ware, where we talk about everything, all things, anything to do with weight loss, health, and wellness. So today we're talking to Amanda Devlin from Agent for Life, who is an Authorised Financial Adviser who focuses on personal risk insurance. Amanda believes in educating her clients on the insurances available to protect themselves, their family, and their business in the event of an unexpected illness or injury. And some people may be wondering why we're talking to Amanda today on the Everything Weight Loss podcast. Well, we're definitely going to get to that very soon. But first of all, I'd love to welcome you to the show, Amanda. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Shari.
So my first question I'm going to ask you, I think that it's really important for people to know why we do what we do. There's always a story behind it. So what's that for you?
Pretty simple, I guess. I've done a lot of admin and retail background, and then I started working for a financial advisor doing all the admin, and then I realised that I wanted to do my course as well, and then I became a financial advisor. And the reason I focus on insurance only is I could really see the benefit at claim time. So people taking out their insurances and having that peace of mind, but also then most importantly, when it came to claim time, I could see the benefits and how it really helped them. And I really liked that. So the work I do is very flexible with the hours. So I have a good lifestyle as well as a good job, but I'm helping people, which is really nice as well. So that's sort of my story, but also my why as well.
Awesome. So if I was to ask you, and I ask everybody this question because I love it so much, what would be, if you were to have a superpower, what would it be?
Okay, so I probably wouldn't call it a superpower, but the one thing I do like to do with my clients is encouraging them to have a conversation about insurance and making a plan. So the conversation really needs to be about having a plan of what you would do in the event of an unexpected illness or injury. Talk to your friends or family or whoever's the most relevant people in your life and make a plan. Insurance is one of those plans, but the other one might be, you know, to keep a business going, someone needs to be contacted. And if you're sick, who's going to look after your business, or who do we need to contact to make sure your clients are still looked after, and all those sorts of things. So insurance is obviously what I do, but it's also making sure that people have this conversation and make a plan now while everyone's fit and healthy, and putting that in place.
So it's about preparing in the event of something unexpected happening.
Yes,
which is
absolutely
something a lot of us don't do. I know myself, sometimes I get so caught up in what I need to do right now that I don't always think ahead. So tell us why. Tell us more about the insurance side of things, because this podcast is directed at a lot of people. It's also directed at people who work in the health and wellness industry, as well as people who want to make changes to their health and wellness. And it applies to both of those audiences. So how can having that discussion around the plan and insurances help them?
Sure. So the conversation should be had by anyone, whether you're young, old, single, married, healthy or not. For my side of it, and relating it back to the health and wellness, it's really important for people to understand how their health affects insurance. So when I'm talking about insurance here, I'm mainly talking about life insurance, income protection, total and permanent disability, and trauma cover. They're all the personal covers that people might have or be wanting to get. A lot of people think that because they have an existing medical condition that the insurance can't be attained or it will be too expensive. So I work with them to get all the information on what their existing health condition is. And then I go to a number of different companies and pre-assess, essentially just to work out what cover is available, what are the terms, and which is the best company to go with.
Okay, so it's not that it's not possible.
No, that's it. So a really good example, I had a phone call from someone, won't name any insurance companies, but it was one of those lovely online ones that always love to advertise on TV, and they were declined, and it was just because of high cholesterol.
Okay.
So I got the details of obviously what medication they're on, how long they've had it, and any other relevant information. Took it to the different insurance companies. A couple of them said, no, we won't offer cover. a couple of them said, yes, we'll offer cover, but you need to pay a loading, which means you pay more.
Yeah.
And then there was a few that said, that's fine. You've been on medication and you're under control because of that medication, so we're happy to cover you. So every company is completely different. So because you've been knocked back by one company, it doesn't mean you can't get insurance. You just need an advisor to help you find which company is the best one for you. And because we go straight through to the underwriters, we get the answers correct straight away. It's not like just ringing the general line and talking to, essentially a call center that can't really help you.
Yeah, okay, so it sounds like it's not a one size fits all. It's definitely
No.
these things, it's an individual approach, and that's why it's really valuable to have somebody like you.
Absolutely. And, it's occupation, it's age, it's even whether you smoke or not, your BMI or weight, and obviously that relates to what you do. But everyone, when you're trying to lose weight, everyone's so worried about a few little kilos here and there, but it's funny how much of a difference that can make to your insurance, because they like you to be within a certain BMI. And that doesn't mean necessarily even being overweight. It can be a footballer who is full of muscle, but if their BMI or body mass index is too high, then you're deemed at a higher risk of different issues, so heart attack, etc., because the blood has to work harder to get around your body. So
Yeah.
little things like that. It might be that, okay, this is your weight. We need to look at what covers are available based on that. And if I know my client's goal is to lose weight, then obviously I keep track of that. So once they get to a certain weight and they've kept it off for a certain period of time, we should review their cover, because if there was a loading that can be reduced, or there might be another cover available that was better than what was originally available. So
Wow. Okay. There's a lot that goes into it, isn't it? Okay. All right. So how
gets
else?
you thinking.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why it's so important to have conversations like this, because there's so many things that people just don't know what they don't know. And the only way they find out sometimes is for people like us to have conversations. So it's all about education. So how else does having the right insurance in place help?
The main thing everyone talks about is peace of mind. So peace of mind knowing that if you can't work, or if you pass away or something like that, you can either pay your mortgage, your family will be looked after, they can maintain their standard of living, they don't have to move, the kids don't have to get out of their private schools, the wife doesn't have to go back to work, and all these different things that are just really simple. But then most importantly from that is they can focus on getting better. So rather than stressing about the money side, because not only are you off work, so you're earning less or nothing if you don't have income protection, but you've got a lot of money stress going on there. Plus you've got medical bills, and your private health cover will cover some expenses, but we all know there's always gaps there. Plus you've got to actually pay that bill every month or every year. So it's really important then. That's why income protection is important, to make sure the money keeps coming in, to give you that peace of mind, to keep paying the bills and the mortgage. And then you can just focus on getting better. Your medical bills are paid for, your mortgage is paid for. You can just focus on whatever it is you need to be doing, whether it's, really just relaxing and taking time off. And depending on the illness or injury, if it's something major, you might even, if it's a trauma cover and you get a payment, or even total and permanent disability, that might mean that your partner can take time off work, or a family member can take time off work, because you can use that money to fund their time off to look after you and spend time with you. So that's why, really important. Peace of mind, but also being able to focus on getting better.
And these are all the things that people just don't think about, because sometimes it's when you haven't been in that situation, we're preparing for something that's never happened, potentially never happened to us before. It's just really hard to think about all the things that might come into play. And that's where you are invaluable, because you haven't been through all of that stuff. And what about in the instances of a claim? How can that be made easier?
Having an advisor on your side makes it easier, because they can be the initial point of contact. So, for example, my clients text, email, or call me and say, this has happened, what do I do? I organise the claim forms to be sent to them, and I get a copy as well, so that I can work through it with them to make sure we get all the documents in as quickly as possible, but also making sure everything's filled out in the easiest way. If that's going to their house because they're unable to fill it in themselves, or we can do it over the phone, we just sort of work out what's easiest. Sometimes the insurance companies will get all the information they need over the phone, so they don't need to fill in the forms. It just depends on the circumstances. But most importantly, they've got someone who's making sure that everything's filled in correctly and making sure that they're getting the claim is being processed in the correct way. So you shouldn't need to go to lawyers or anything like that. It's just a matter of having that advisor, and they know your policy, they know you, they know the insurance companies, and they know how the claims process works. So it really is just a process. It shouldn't be anything difficult, but it is obviously for the clients because they've never done it before.
Yeah, and also if they're in the situation where they're having to make a claim, they're obviously going through some kind of stressful situation, some kind of illness, some kind of trauma. So not having to worry about things like filling out forms and all of those things and following that claim process through, I could absolutely see would be a massive benefit. So
absolutely,
yeah, definitely. I know that I can honestly say that Amanda actually takes care of all of my insurances, and I don't have to worry. I know that if anything happens, all I need to do is send Amanda a text message and she'll do whatever needs to be done. And that's actually all, not that I have had anything happen yet. Thank goodness. However, there have been instances where there have been things that needed to be done, some paperwork needed to be done or signed or something, and I didn't know about it because I missed the email in my massive email inbox. And Amanda sent me a message and say, Shari, did you get this email? I need you to do this. So definitely, so valuable to have somebody like that on your side. So if somebody doesn't already if they haven't had the conversation about the plan, or if they know that they need to get some insurances in place and they haven't done that yet, what would be their first action step? What's one step they could take, after listening to
phone call with me is probably the easiest way, especially during all these times. It's hard to get people together sometimes. So I'll get on the phone, or you can put me on speaker with, my husband and wife, and we'll have the conversation. It means people don't have to drive around. If you've got kids in bed or whatever it is, just try and make it easy. Find a time that suits everyone and have a chat and just say, okay, so if the husband can't work, what does your life look like? What happens? What's your plan? If you can't work for 2 months, what happens? If you can't work for 6 months, if you can't work ever again? And then the same question for the wife. How do you want your life to look like, and how would it be if there was no income, or if the wife's not there, who's going to look after the kids? So do you need an insurance in place to get a nanny, or to pay someone to look after the kids or pick them up to and from school so that you can continue working? And I just thought then when you were talking that it's very important for people to remember that if you've got your cover in place, people who know you need to know who to contact if you're unable to. It's that same plan of whether it's a partner or a best friend or whatever, or a child or whoever it is, whoever that main contact person is, they need to know who to contact. I haven't told people just put me in the phone as Amanda Insurance. No one remembers my name half the time, or hopefully they do, but if they don't, they know to look up insurance, and that's their first point of call.
There you go. Thank you, because I only just realised from you saying that I haven't done that. So I need to do that as well, and I will do that as soon as I get off this call.
And I will text you and remind you and make sure that you've done it.
Yes, you will. Thank you. This is why I have a message. It's amazing. I know from my own experience, I guess it's still the same, that phone call is free of charge. It doesn't cost anything. Is that correct?
I don't charge my clients because I'm paid by the insurance companies, and I don't charge for a claim either, which I know some advisors do. And my reasoning there is, you're my client. I've been paid by the insurance company whenever it was when we did your insurance. So you are now my client. So I look after you from the beginning right through to claims. And it's always such a weird thing. People think, oh, I've never used my policy, I've never claimed. And it's so hard because I want you to claim so you get money, but that means something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So it's always a really tricky thing, but it is nice if you get some little things sometimes. And I guess that's the other important thing, like what sort of cover do you want and what do you want to be covered for? You might know someone with an illness in your family. What sort of cover would I have needed to have received a payment if that had happened to me? That's a really good way that's relevant for people then.
Yeah.
I actually thought too, before, one main question that a lot of people have, or people that they hate about insurance, is they don't want to do medicals.
Okay.
You don't have to do a medical.
Okay.
The only reason you might need to do a medical is, we were talking about high cholesterol before. If you haven't been for a recent blood test, obviously they're going to need one, but you'd be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
The only time you might need a medical with insurance is if you're getting quite high levels of cover, and after certain ages, then you may need to do a medical. But they're made really easy. The nurse will go to you, or you go to them, whatever's most convenient at whatever time. And it's normally just a blood test and they fill in a form, but it's definitely not a requirement of every single company. Okay. And these companies that say you don't need to fill in forms, we'll just give you cover. The risk there is that when it comes to claim time, they're still going to need all that medical information anyway. Okay. So what I do is I get all the medical information up first, pre-assess it, work out which company is best for you based on your occupation and age and also medical conditions, rather than getting to claim time and then getting surprises. So yes. One of the big reasons that people don't have successful claims is non-disclosure.
Yeah.
So if, the application's got a lot of questions in it, but I just help them through it, make it really easy for them. And then as long as they've disclosed everything and answered everything correctly, claim time should be really straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to say is that if insurance seems really hard, just talk to Amanda, because she makes it so much easier.
But that's what I do. So for me, it is easy and it makes sense. Yeah. And like you say, you talk about a superpower. Everyone has their own superpower, an own area of expertise. And that's why there are so many different occupations in the world. You've just got to reach out to the right expert at the right time.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so if what I will do is I will put any links to connect with Amanda further in the show notes for anybody to do that. And I have one last question for you, Amanda, and that is, I like people to walk away from an episode knowing one thing. So for you, what would be the one thing that you want people to know from this episode?
Okay. Probably that another thing with if they've already got insurance, whether it's inside super or held personally, that you can review it at any time. It doesn't have to be at any specific time of the year or your birthday or when it started or anything like that. You can review it at any time. And so I recommend, if you're thinking about it, just do it. Get that peace of mind, get the plan in place, and then you can move on to something more fun.
Awesome. Call Amanda. Okay.
Thanks, Shari.
You're welcome. I'm definitely one of your biggest fans. So I tell anybody I know who's looking for insurance, you need Amanda. So thank you so much for joining me on the show today, Amanda.
Thank you very much, Shari. It's been good.
You're welcome. And we will see you all on the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.